Number 40, who you got?
Number 40, the rookie, the number 5 pick in the draft, Tua Tagovailoa. That is going to be number 40. Again, this is not a guy that I need to see him play in the NFL. Now, listen, I wasn't like a huge fan of him of being picked at number 5, right? When you pick a guy at number 5, to me, you're saying at some point in the next few years, you think he's going to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. I'm not so sure about that. That's why I pushed back against that. But he's certainly, right away, I know he's one of the 40 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Listen, he's got a quick release. He's played a lot of big-time football. He's got a good arm. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a great arm like you and I discussed during the draft process. He's got very good feet in the pocket. Do I think he's a little overrated, as you know, in the national eye? Yes, I think he's gotten a little too much credit for the machine of Alabama, and people are just giving the quarterback the credit. So, yes, but within that, well-schooled, really coached hard by a good coach. So I know he's going to be able to handle offenses and understand how to read defenses and things like that. Let alone he's played a lot of snaps in college too. So I have my concerns about injury and all that. I get all that. But this is not the draft. This is the top 40 quarterbacks in football in the NFL right now. And Tua is number 40 for me.
I'm going to call you a little bit on him. This is just a curious fan. I'm sure some people at home probably thinking the same thing. How can you have a player on this list, especially a quarterback, who hasn't played it down in the NFL? And I know you like plenty of the backup quarterbacks. So if you just take the top 32 starters and your top quarter of the backups in the league, he's not on this list. So defend a rookie who hasn't played a snap being on the list right now.
Well, again, it's a little projection that way, but there's a reason he was drafted in the top 10, or at least I valued him as a top 20 pick in the draft. It's because he's got talent. And, yeah, maybe there's a little lack of experience of the guys that I had compared to 41 or 42 or 43. But that lack of experience is not enough for me to say it overcomes the fact that I think Tua is more talented than a lot of those guys that are behind him too, let alone, his experience, yes, not in the NFL, but the SEC is as close as it gets to the NFL. So he's been thrown to big-time receivers. He's seen a lot of big-time first-round draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. And, again, some of this is going to have to be projection. People thought I was an idiot last year when I had Kyler Murray in the top 32. People the year before that thought I was really stupid when I had Patrick Mahomes in the top 32. And I'll sit here and go, no, I was stupid that I didn't put Patrick Mahomes in the top 10 that year. I just chickened out, really. But so, again, part of the reason I'm doing this is I am pretty good at it. I've been around quarterbacks my whole life. I've seen a lot of these great ones and the ones playing in person right now. And, of course, I study them coming out in the draft. And I feel very comfortable to say that I think Tua is more talented and better than, yes, a lot of backup quarterbacks in football right now from day one.
I'm just the fourth person in your dad's kitchen right now, bringing up another point for you to think about. Cool. As you're getting comfortable with your list. Now, here's another one for you. I mean, this doesn't happen very often anymore. These quarterbacks don't sit very long. But considering the injury situation, they have Ryan Fitzpatrick. They drafted 3 linemen in the first 4 rounds. They're eventually going to get worked in there. They've got Chan Gailey, veteran offensive coordinator. Would this be the rare case where it would be better off for a high-picket quarterback to sit and watch for most of the season?
It's certainly a good question, and it's definitely up for debate. There's no doubt about that. I am not of that school. I am of the school of let's get playing, let's do it right now, let's get reps under your belt. So in year 2, we can hit the ground running, and there's no question about, we haven't played or I haven't done this or any of that. And I know that, and I haven't read it in full yet, but I know Stephen Ross, or at least on Pro Football Talk, made a comment recently about Tua could very easily start week 1. I ultimately think if Tua doesn't shit the bed in the preseason and he just looks pretty damn good, whether he's a starter week 1 or not, okay, maybe that's debatable. But I think he'll be a starter a lot like Daniel Jones at some point in that first month of the season next year. And if he is healthy, you've invested a number 5 pick, he's telling you he feels good, your doctors confirm that, then I say go and play, because I don't think there's any better thing or experience than just getting out there and, as you know, getting a feel for the live bullets of which is the NFL.
So if he is the starting quarterback for the Dolphins at some point there in September, what's the number one thing you're going to be looking for to see if this guy is ready to play in the NFL?
Yeah, I have no doubts that he'll be able to process information. I have no doubts that he'll be able to move around the pocket and make some plays. And, he can deliver the ball from different platforms and it can look really good. But what the number one thing I'm going to be looking for is when the pocket collapses, can Tua make throws with people around him? That's a real concern with me. When the pocket collapses and it is people all around him, can he keep his body away from harm? That is another huge concern for me. As you know, coming out in the draft, there's just so many plays when you study them where you just go, ooh, he might be hurt. I said that a lot during the draft process. So I think that's the big thing I'm going to be looking at for more than anything, just from the pure playing standpoint, is plays and throws when the pocket's not perfect and the windows of the wide receivers aren't wide open. That, to me, was the one thing that jumped out about my evaluation of Tua coming out in the draft. There was not a lot of what I would call big-time NFL throws, when I mean that with pressure, people around you. Okay, there's a guy open by a sliver, and this is the NFL life, and now you got to throw a rifle in there and hit the guy between the two numbers. As you know, there wasn't a ton of that on film from him. Guys were wide open. The pocket was really clean. When the things weren't really clean, there wasn't a lot of big-time completions off of that. Now, we didn't care about it because the next play somebody was wide open and it went for a 40-yard gain so we could brush it under the rug. But he's going to be on a team that's not as good as the rest of the teams in football right now. So when he does miss some of those throws and people around him, it's going to accentuate itself this year compared to Alabama, where we know they're a machine. And, they could run in between the tackles on 3rd and 10 and get a first down maybe. That's how good they were. So that's what I'll be looking for. Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's okay. One more question on him. Do you think that a quarterback who doesn't come into the league with that kind of comfort level, with the chaos in the pocket, and I'm okay, I'm going to thread it in there anyway, is that something you can pick up and learn once you're already there?
I do think it is. I do think it is something you can learn. Like, I'll give a great example of, like, Deshaun Watson. When he came out in the draft, I kept going, man, where's his fastball? Like, I would see it once every 30 or 40 throws on film. Where's his fastball? But I think once he got a gauge of, wait, this is what open is in the NFL, and this is where this is how much, velocity I got to put on it to get it in there. Okay, I can do that. And I do think Tua, he's a very good athlete. He's smart. He works hard. He's a charismatic person. He's a leader. Yes, I do think, though it'll be tough, he'll be able to learn a style of play that fits him and will help the Miami Dolphins when he does become that starter there.
You know how this works now. We've done the last 2 weeks. We're going to have quarterback jeopardy at the end, but I'm going to work in just some quick little questions to get you warmed up because it's going to be a little more difficult, okay? So Tua Tagovailoa, that's perfect alliteration. The first name, the last name, exact same sound. So in the next 30 seconds, give me some quarterbacks in the league right now or quarterbacks in the past that are also that alliteration with the first name and the last name.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, oddly enough, the reason we do this list, it started because of Blake Bortles.
There you go.
So there's one. All right.
Yeah. I'll stay with the Bees. I'll stay with the Bees and go Bubby Brister with you.
Oh,
just to pile on.
good one. Good one with Bubby Brister. I know I'm missing somebody here that's obvious. And Tim Tebow, double T's.
There you go. Yeah.
Bam.
There's a couple of "k" sounds in the league. K on the front and the back. I can think of at least two.
Like
one's a starter,
like
one's
Kirk
a nice backup.
Cousins, like
there
Kirk
you go.
Cousins,
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Case
who's your
Keenum.
other one? Oh, Case Keenum. I know. So you don't think of them because of the KC or the CK combination. It didn't come to my head right away, but once you led me there, yeah, I got it. I got you.
Yeah. Wade Wilson. We could go on and on and on and on.
That's a great one. Wade Wilson. Damn. That's a good one. I see Matt Casey, one of our producers, put Cody Carlson, Colin Kaepernick. So damn,
Cody
those
Carlson.
are some good ones.
Do you remember that Monday night game when Warren Moon was hurt? I think it was in Pittsburgh. Cody Carlson got the start, and he kept losing the ball at the back of his launch.
Right.
Yeah, felt so bad for him. Yeah, Cody Carlson, Baylor. Nice job, Matt Casey. Okay, we could always come back to that. Cody Kessler. Cody Kessler's another one.
They're killing it.
Right.
And just so you know, hey, we started this list because, this all started because I was on a radio show with Dan Patrick, and he said, what's wrong with the Jacksonville Jaguars? the
Yeah,
year
what'd you
that
say?
they went to the AFC. He goes, why are they so inconsistent? And I went,
Yeah.
well, I said, it's pretty damn obvious. I said, they have the 70th best quarterback in football, Blake Bortles, and that's where it started. But oddly enough, why I'm bringing this up, because we just said the name is, Cody Kessler. So Bortles was number 70. When that season was over, they went and signed by number 71, which was Cody Kessler, which I just thought was hilarious. Just a little tidbit there to move on with.
You know who they could have signed that has been a really good veteran stop everywhere he goes and ends up, he puts up big numbers for at least a year? Jeff George.
Oh, yes, Jeff George. I mean, come on. That's one of the greatest arms and throwers in the history of the NFL. Now, he might throw
I only said it because of the alliteration. I only brought it up because it fit in.
You like the Jeff George?
Yes,
Jeff George, though,
yeah.
when I was growing up, was one of those kids that when I remember going to a Giants game, going, damn, who's this guy? He can throw the ball like a mile, like a foot off the ground. I mean, it was unreal. Now, he might throw 7 interceptions doing that, but either way, it looked good coming out of his hands.
My true freshman year, Illinois came to Iowa City, and I dressed and just watched. And I always watched the other team warm up, and they had Jeff George. And I watched him in warm-ups, and I'm like, I will never play it down in Big Ten football. If that's what it's supposed to look like, I'm going to transfer somewhere else because I cannot do that.
He had a laser. One of the greatest arms in the history of the NFL. It really is. It truly is.
All right. Tua Tagovailoa with his alliteration and his 5th overall pick is a Dolphin, and he's number 40. At number 39, who's on your list?
Dwayne Haskins, Washington Redskins. And, listen, honestly, going into this exercise, I thought I would probably have Dwayne Haskins higher than this. And this doesn't mean he can't get higher than where he is. I mean, I recognize there's potential with Dwayne Haskins. He does have a really good arm. We talked about his size. I do think size is a skill. But I think between what I went back and watched in preseason football last week and then just some of his throws I watched during the regular season, it led me to believe that I just don't know what Dwayne Haskins is yet. And that's really why he's 39. I don't know where. Again, I see talent, but I also see immaturity and rawness and a guy that's really still learning to play the position. So would I be shocked if he ended up in the top 20 by the end of the season? No, I can't say that I would, because I remember seeing things at Ohio State going, damn, that guy can throw it and make some throws. But last year, very inconsistent in the preseason. Had some really head-scratching throws, decisions, moments, all like that. When he did start finally for the Washington Redskins later in the year, and you watched football, it wasn't pretty at first.
Right.
It was really ugly at first, actually. Then we started to see a glimmer of hope, and we started to see some positive things, and he got hurt. So we never really got to see him build on that. But, again, I think this is a player that's raw. And, I think between some of the stuff I heard during the season, and you've heard Ron Rivera say that he's got to be a better professional and crossing the T's and dotting the I's and all those things more. Like I said, I see the potential, but I think realistically, if we're going by I'm a coach and my ass is on the hot seat, he's going to be at 39 right now because I just don't know what he is, and I can't trust him at this point.
Last year you had him at 38 before he played it down in the NFL, so if he drops one after those 7 starts. As long as you bring up Ron Rivera, I'm going to go right to what I think is the most important or the most interesting part of the Dwayne Haskins situation. Rivera traded for his former quarterback Kyle Allen in Carolina, not just a throwaway 7th-round pick, gave up a 5th-round pick. And coaches believe that a 5th-round pick at the very least can contribute on special teams. So what do you read into the fact that his head coach got his old quarterback for a 5th-round pick?
Well, I look at it as like it's an insurance policy, right?
That's
Ron
it?
Rivera, I think so for right now. An insurance policy / like poker that's like real close to Dwayne Haskins' butt to be like, hey, you better be a pro. You better do the good things. You better play well. I got a guy here that I like that, came with me from my old team. He won me some football games. I think that's what it's all about. It's about pushing Dwayne Haskins more than anything. And then, if they don't quite trust Dwayne Haskins and don't know if he's going to maybe mature into the quarterback they think right here in year 2, because, hey, one of the concerns about him coming out of Ohio State is he was only a 1-year starter, and he is a very young kid still. He was one of the younger guys in the draft altogether, to where, okay, if, they go through the first 5 or 6 weeks and, man, it's kind of just rough and all over the place. I think Kyle Allen is there for Ron Rivera to go, okay, I'm not going to let season 1 just go down the toilet and we're going to end up 2-14. And now I got Kyle Allen, and hopefully we can be respectable and end up 7-9 or 8-8. So I really think that's why Kyle Allen is there. All those factors, which screams the number 39 quarterback in football, because it sounds like they're not quite sure what the hell he is yet either. And I think that's kind of why I got him there. And all things point that way. Number 38, Chicago Bears. I don't know. Is he the starter? Is he backup? I don't know what the hell he'll be right now, but it's Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah.
That's a huge drop, pal. That's a giant drop. It's an 18-player drop from last year when he was 20th.
Well, listen, that was probably one of the more controversial ones on my draft, on my top 40 last year. It was. And hey, listen, you know me. I'm honest. I self-scout myself, and that part of the rankings is so close. And it's like I told you here to start the podcast, like 25 through 40, 20 through 30. I mean, those guys are bunched in there so close. A little bit is going to make big jumps from year to year and things that happen that way. But Mitchell Trubisky, I think, is digressed. I think that's the biggest thing that I look at. Again,
what do you think is holding him back, Chris? Because he's one of these quarterbacks where the numbers are misleading. I mean, there's been a lot of wins in the last couple of years, a lot of competitive games. His completion percentage, touchdown interception ratio, you look at those, you're like, that's pretty good. But something's missing. Like, they're misleading me somehow. What am I not seeing when I'm looking only at his numbers?
Well, numbers-wise, statistically, he feasts on the poor, especially last year. I mean, if you really go through the games, when they played crappy teams, his stats are pretty good. They played the Lions and things like that. Oh, the Vikings, when they played for nothing in Week 17, things went pretty good. But when he had to play some of the other quality football teams that were well-rounded, no, it was not good. Because, one, he's not capable of making a whole lot happen if there's nothing there to be had, which I'm big into when I'm evaluating quarterbacks. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they've done Mitchell Trubisky the greatest justice in the world with what they surrounded him as a rookie, changing to Matt Nagy in year 2. Matt Nagy, I don't think, was the greatest support system to him early on either. But I think I think, Paul, I've talked about this a lot on Pro Football Talk, and it still bothers me. Because you remember that Green Bay game against the Bears 2 years ago when Rodgers hurt his knee, right, and then came back out and threw the ball awesome and they won the game? Well, in that game, that was Matt Nagy's first game as an NFL head coach. Trubisky's running on the field, and I still got a picture of the screenshot on my phone. I'm going to text you when it's over. But it basically goes through his statistics for the year, his size, and then on the bottom, there's a quote from Matt Nagy that says, I can't put in my full offense with this quarterback. So, wow, what a great ringing endorsement for me to run on the field, and the coach can shit on me as I'm doing that. Yeah. And basically have an excuse. If things don't go well, I'm the excuse. That's basically what that was. So I don't like that, and I'm not letting Matt Nagy off the hook for that. I thought that was a BS move. But I think all in all, too, despite those things, which is more on the team to help Trubisky has kind of gotten that line here, Paul, of he's an athlete who plays quarterback instead of a quarterback who's an athlete, right? Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback who's an athlete, right? He's a natural at the quarterback position, but damn, he can run and move around and do all those things. Trubisky, what I think has hit me as the year went on, first off, below average NFL accuracy for a starting quarterback. Below average decision-making. And then within that great athleticism that we talk about, he doesn't use it nearly as much as he should. He's not great dancing around the pocket and doing things like that and using the athleticism to make big throws down the field. And, is another guy that when I went back and watched him a few weeks ago, some of the notes I wrote down more than anything was, he needs to run more. There's too many times he's sitting in the pocket looking for people, and I'm going, nothing's there. Run, do something. It's what you're best at. So let's take advantage of that. And I think that's ultimately where I am right now with Mitchell Trubisky. And like I've told you before, if I'm the Bears, I'm starting Nick Foles to start the season because I think Trubisky's in a no-win situation.
At 37, what do we see?
Well, we're going back to the rookie list here. Justin Herbert. Yes, the number 6 pick on the Los Angeles Chargers, and of course out of Oregon. And again, I know, oh, he played in college. How do you know he's better than this guy? I get it. I understand. But Justin Herbert's played a lot of college football at a really high level.
4-year starter. Yep.
Right. 4-year starter, a lot of reps, and a non-quarterback friendly offense too, I'd like to say, where he really got a lot done and made a lot of plays. And I'm into that again. When there's nothing there to be had, a really awesome quarterback makes sure there's something there to be had. And he can do that. But, also, again, for the guys that he's in front of, I think he's going to be every bit as good as the decision maker Mitchell Trubisky is. I know he's a better thrower than Mitchell Trubisky right now. I don't have to see that. This guy's smart. He had the highest Wonderlic out of all the quarterbacks in the draft this past year. So this is no idiot. And I just look at him, and my thoughts on him. I mean, I think he has superstar capabilities. And again, I just think you put him in the Bears offense, I think they'd have better results than they would with Mitchell Trubisky. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that, but I'm very bullish on Justin Herbert. I think he has big-time talent. I really do. I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here next year or 2 years from now and he's in the top 10. That's what kind of guy I think he is. Yeah. Between the size, the speed, of all his college film, I know there was one game, Arizona State. That's all everybody talks about. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but he can throw a different variety of throws. And, could he get better at showing the variety?
Sure.
I get that. But, sometimes when you got a great fastball, you throw the fastball a lot. Right. That's the way it goes.
I wanted to do this.
Go ahead.
Speaking of fastball, I wanted to do this with you during the draft, but it never came up. We never had time. We actually didn't talk the quarterback evaluation that much. So I'm coming back to this. It's a note I had from March. I want you to compare him to Josh Allen at this point, because you and I weren't working together when Josh came out, I don't think. But I know that you love him for the same reason as a prospect you like Justin Herbert, the most physical upside, the best passer of the ball, the best attributes of any quarterback in that class. So compare Herbert to Allen at this stage of their careers, and what do you see?
Yeah, well, so passer, thrower, right? Like Joe Burrow's a better passer than Justin Herbert, but Herbert's a better thrower than Joe Burrow, if that makes sense. Because I mean that is like Herbert can just pick it up and just throw lasers. Now, passing to me is more of like, Joe Montana, Drew Brees, right? They're great passers. They can make any throw. It might not wow you, but they got great feel and putting touch on a crossing route, or, throwing a shallow cross just the right way and putting it in front of the guy's numbers to where he can run and never lose his stride and just go that way. So, you asked between who? Justin Herbert, and who was the other one you asked?
Josh Allen, just as
Josh
prospects.
Allen. Sure.
When Josh was at this point, Chris, when Josh was in between Wyoming and Buffalo, comparing to what you see from Herbert right now.
I think that Josh probably had more high-end talent, okay? And of course, had a stronger arm, but not by much. I think really all-encompassing thrower, passer, everything involved there. I think Justin Herbert actually has the advantage on Josh Allen that way. Not going to say, Josh Allen has a 104-mile-per-hour fastball. I think Justin Herbert's is probably 102, right? It's not quite in the same class, but not far off. And I think as compared to when he came out, I think Justin Herbert actually plays the position more true to form than Josh Allen did coming out.
What do you mean?
Well, Josh Allen was on a team that was not good his last year there. They had no talent, and some of his play could really be backyard, like, whoa, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Whoa, that's a disaster. And then the next play you go, whoa, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Whoa, that was amazing. Well, there was a lot of that. And Justin Herbert's more consistent in his play overall, where you sit there and you go, man, what a throw. Wow, way to stay in the pocket with people around you and make that throw. Whoa, the Red Sea parted. Look at him run and go. Played the position more true to what we know as a quarterback. And I think he's less raw than Josh Allen. Not a great offense around him either. And I think that led to some people questioning what he is. And again, you know me, I argue against that all the time. Too many times we're evaluating quarterbacks for the team they're on and the talent around them, and we're putting it all on the quarterback. And I made that mistake with Dak Prescott coming out of Mississippi State. I kept going, damn, I like this kid. He's big, he's strong, he's got a good arm. The results, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, the results weren't good because he was at Mississippi State and they were the worst team on the field more times than not in the SEC. So it's hard. Drew Lock last year coming out of Missouri, same thing. But I learned from that. And I said, you know what? Drew Lock's really awesome. He's going to be my number 2 quarterback. I think he's a baller. So I tried to learn from it that way. But I think Justin Herbert has a really high ceiling. And I also think he has a high floor. I don't think there's much bust factor here for this guy at all. And I think that's where he has maybe an advantage over Josh Allen. I saw a little bust factor with Josh Allen and saw an incredibly high ceiling. And I think we're seeing he's going towards the high ceiling more than the bust factor.
Yeah, Herbert has a world more experience starting games in college than Josh did coming out of Wyoming. Also, a much better history of taking care of the football. It's one of the many things that Herbert did well at Oregon. Who starts more games for the Chargers next year, Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor?
Oh, that's a good one. I know Anthony Lynn has the greatest respect for Tyrod Taylor. I do think they want to play a style of football where they want to run, play defense, and take a few shots down the field here and there. So, this is a tough one. I do think Justin Herbert is clearly more talented than Tyrod Taylor and, is capable of playing the position as good as Tyrod Taylor, but I don't know that yet. And I've seen Tyrod Taylor play. Tyrod Taylor, he's not going to lose you games. He knows how to manage the offense and do the right thing with the ball and take care of the ball that way. I think I'm going to go with Tyrod Taylor. It's really close, but I just have a feeling that the Chargers are going to be good. And if they go with Tyrod Taylor to start the year, I think they're going to be competitive to where I don't know if they'll ever have that chance to kind of pull the trigger and pull Justin Herbert out of there. I could really see it going either way, but I guess right now, if you're putting the gun to my head, I'm going with Tyrod Taylor.
Maybe in this case, a tie goes to which player in the Herbert versus Taylor? Maybe to the alliteration.
To the Tyrod Taylor. Look at you. You're talking about Tyrod Taylor, right? Yeah.
For sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was the one.
I like that. There's another one. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because listen, also I could very easily, hey, if Tyrod Taylor gets off to a start like we saw Eli Manning get off to with the Giants last year, and all of a sudden the Chargers are 0-2, then I think we see Justin Herbert. But I don't know. I look at that Chargers team and think there's a lot of talent.
Right.
But that's a good question. I'll be very interested to see. If I'm them, I'm just telling you, I'd rather go with Justin Herbert and just go.
Right.
You can play that style of football that we just talked about with Tyrod Taylor and do that with Justin Herbert. You said it. He's capable of taking care of the ball. You run the football. You play defense. Few play action passes where you just go, hey, read this guy, and you throw to 1 to 2 and make it just that. I think Justin Herbert's smart enough and clearly talented enough to make that happen, but he's going to have to prove that to them during training camp.
At number 36, this is going to be a fun one. I see the name. I'll let you reveal it.
Yeah, Taysom Hill, quarterback, New Orleans Saints. And, hey, you're right. This is a fun one, okay? And Taysom Hill, I know a lot of people out there are going to sit there and go, he's never thrown a touchdown as an NFL quarterback. I understand. I get it. He's also been, coached by Sean Payton the last 2 years. I've seen a progression of every year in the preseason and the season. Excuse me here, I'm burping. I've seen a progression every year, though, preseason and the season when he does make throws of a guy that I go, whoa. Every year I've gone, whoa. And I remember last year, and I think one of their first preseason games was like the Chargers out in L.A., and he got a lot of reps, and I just remember going, oh, man, Taysom Hill's the future for the New Orleans Saints because he's got big-time talent. He's got a huge arm. He can throw missiles all over the field, and he can throw it deep with great ease, and he's got great control and accuracy, and he's learned how to go through reads and play within the pocket and do all of that, let alone he's got a skill set that's special. And that you're going to be able to do some different things with a guy like Taysom Hill that, you can't do with a lot of other quarterbacks.
Hold on. So it sounds to me and I know you've got a ways to go with talking about it, but I just want to jump in there because you're not describing just a fun weapon to bring in for 7 or 8 plays a game. With his arm and the way you say he's going through reads, it sounds to me like you're describing someone who you want to see come in and drive the car if Drew gets hurt again for 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Well, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it. I would not. Now,
would you pick him over Winston?
This is I was going there. This is where the decision has to be made, and Jameis Winston has more experience. We know that, all of that. To me, what's the big thing is, does Sean Payton still want to have Taysom Hill, the runner, available and do all those things? Like, if you make Taysom Hill, okay, he's going to be the starter, you might be a little more careful about the design quarterback runs and things like that, where if you make Jameis Winston the starter, now, okay, we can bring Taysom Hill in on the package every now and then to run a few plays because we're not expecting him to, start and play the rest of the game if he did get banged up and hurt his shoulder that way. I think there's tremendous high-end talent with Taysom Hill. He has superstar ability. There's a reason you hear Sean Payton say Steve Young and things like that. I mean, it's special that way. And, of course, he's been learning under Drew Brees and Sean Payton in a lot of ways. Really, the only thing we need to see is we just need to see it. We need to see more of it. Can he do it consistently? That's really the big question. If I saw 100 more reps, he'd probably be way up the list from where he is. But right now, he is a little bit of an unknown commodity that way. And I'm not going to disrespect some of the people that are in front of him and played the position more and experience it and just say, oh, he's better than them. Yeah, there's going to be some guys that are in front of him that he clearly has more talent than, but I think their experience and their know of how to play the game and the position will outweigh the fact that he's more talented than them, at least right now at this very time here in 2020.
As fans, we want to be educated fans. We want to see the entire body of work. But, hey, we all remember most of what we saw last. And in that last playoff game they played, he had success running the ball. He had success throwing it. And he also had success as a receiver. So if he continues down this path at least one more year, not as the main backup, but as someone who's going to have a package and have a set of plays, would you rather see him throw more, run more, or more as a receiver? Which one of those three would you use him more often as?
Yeah, I want to see him throw more. I do. I think that's the thing. And again, not that you can't do all those other things, but I think we're seeing a guy that's gotten more and more comfortable throwing the football within the pocket. And, the big thing is Drew Brees, not a real strong arm, so he can't push the ball down the field. That's usually when they bring Taysom Hill in, when they want to make those type of plays. So I feel like teams this year are going to be looking for, Taysom Hill's in, they're going to throw a bomb, or they're going to pull 2 guards to the right and he's going to run behind them and try to run for a first down. Where, I'd love to see Sean Payton throw some curveballs and all of a sudden Taysom Hill throws a 16-yard in cut or a 10-yard out route. So you can't really peg him to, what's the offense going to be when he's like that way. So, yeah, I want to see him throw. You know me. I'm like you. I'm a damn quarterback. I know he can run. I know he can catch. I want to see if he can make consistent right decisions, the right throws, play after play, or at least a lot more than what we've seen to this point.
And I also think that's the one way that can keep this thing going, that can keep it successful, because remember the Wildcat? I mean, the Wildcat kind of came and went because at some point they're like, you know what? This guy's not going to throw the ball. He's only going to run it. They're limited right now.
Right.
So unless they use him more as a passer, with as wonderful a runner as Taysom Hill is, I don't see continued success with this package unless they let him throw more often.
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, I think, between the Saints being really good the last 2 years, people studying what they do, especially division opponents, they've seen what Taysom Hill does. And to your point, he usually runs the ball. If he doesn't run the ball, it's a deep pass. So you can kind of peg it to one of those two things to where, I'm with you. Let alone, again, I think all signs are pointing in the direction of he's the future of the Saints. There's nothing to make us believe right now. Taysom Hill is on his way to being the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints in 2021, unless something unforeseen happens. I mean, Drew Brees has signed a deal with NBC, and he's going to be doing Notre Dame games in 2021. So the writing's on the wall for him. He knows. And between, what Sean Payton says about Taysom Hill publicly and what we hear Sean Payton says about him behind the scenes and what we know that way, yeah, everything points to him being that guy. And I think if you want him to be that guy in 2021, yeah, he's special. But I certainly, even if I'm Sean Payton, would want to get him a few more reps throwing the football so I feel really, really comfortable when that time does come around.
And I'd like to see those reps in real parts of the game. And I'm wondering, what's your trust level? And I think I know where you're going here, but your trust level in a handful of 2nd down and 8 situations, you put him in, not, hey, throw it here, there. You let him play quarterback. You've got 5 guys out in the route and say, you pick the one you like and you throw it where you think it should go.
My trust level is high. It is. I mean, just from everything I've seen, whether it's the games or preseason, whatever it may be, I've seen enough to go, the guy knows how to manipulate the pocket. He knows what he's looking at down the field as far as going to the first and second read. I saw that enough when I went back and watched him to go, again, he wasn't running all the Drew Brees plays like you're talking about, but I saw enough to go, oh, he went from the deep post to the crosser to the in cut and realized, okay, that was my 3rd read. That's where I should go. And he did it in a timely fashion and looked like a quarterback. So I really do. And of course, hey, we can't, the fact of the matter is he's being coached by Sean Payton. And anybody who comes in after Drew Brees, you go through it. If Drew Brees has been hurt or not been able to play, go back and look, anybody out there. They've come in and all played well. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0. Luke McCown, when he was the backup to Brees, he came in and had a few 300-yard games and touchdowns and things like that. So, I just think he's been taught well and understands the position and really refined himself, let alone we know he has special, special talent.
Thinking of special, would you keep playing him on special teams?
No, this would probably be – I would probably play him on punt team, and that was it. Because he's a great weapon on punt team. I wouldn't want him to do anything else. But the fact that they keep him back there as that little what the hell is he called back there? I'm forgetting what that's called on the punt team. The guy that sits in front of the punter.
The up back.
The up back. That's what I was looking for. Exactly right. That's a true – I mean, the Saints are dangerous because he's the up back. If it's 4th and 5 or less, you got to worry about him smashing it up the middle for 6 yards, or him keeping it around the edge for a run, or him making a throw. So that would be the only special teams I would keep him on there because it truly gives the Saints a great advantage.
Number 35, perhaps the heir apparent, Chris.
Yeah, well, and it's Jarrett Stidham for the New England Patriots. He is the heir apparent. Not perhaps. I'll be shocked if he's not, Ahmed. That's what I'm going to say. And again, I understand people are going to sit there and go, he hasn't played or started an NFL game yet. I get that. I know. This guy was a first-round talent, in my opinion, coming out of the draft 2 years ago. I liked him a lot. He killed it in the preseason last year. He absolutely, absolutely killed it. I mean, he's a good decision maker. He's a very good athlete. He can really make plays within the pocket, moving around, throwing the ball different ways. He's a pure thrower of the football. Like, it's not a great arm. It's a real good arm. That's what it is. He certainly can make any throw and has a lot of different variety of throws. Can throw the ball with touch, has timing, can drive the ball, has an aggressive frame of mind that I really liked, Ahmed. He drops back and he's looking to strike. He's not looking to go, oh, let me throw a 4-yard completion and just get my completion percentage up and get us in 2nd and 6. He plays the position true to how he's coached. Hey, if the first read is like the 20-yard comeback on the right side, he's going to sit there and give that 20-yard comeback a chance. So, I think all of those things, plus poise in the pocket, I'm a big fan of Jarrett Stidham. I'm a believer. I am. And I will be more shocked if he's not still the quarterback 6 or 7 years from now than I am if he ends up, being not the quarterback after this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's the future.
And I love your Tony Romo comp to him, because you with Mike showed some highlights from the preseason this past year of Stidham, and it really it does look a lot like Tony Romo in the way he moves, even his athletic ability. And I thought it was interesting too, Chris, looking up, he was a 4th-round pick. Right? Some people may think like, oh, this under-the-radar guy. He was very highly recruited out of high school, had a lot of the tools, was a top 100 recruit, offers from Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, coming out of high school in Texas there. And so it's not like he just all of a sudden popped up at the end of college. And in fact, it was the opposite, Chris. Maybe part of the reason why he was a 4th-round pick is that last year in Auburn was not great for him, especially in some big games.
That's exactly what it is. It's the same thing with Drew Lock. It's really the same thing with Dak Prescott. A lot of people were, oh, wait, the team didn't do good. Let's blame it on one guy. And that's where I pushed back. I had this guy rated above Daniel Jones last year in the draft process. I thought, I said it all along, I thought I thought Jarrett Stidham was a 1st-round talent. I really did. And just like Drew Lock, if he comes out the year before, like you're talking about his junior year, he's going to be a 1st-round pick. But senior year, team fell apart. It was the worst offensive line I saw any of the quarterbacks in the draft that were eligible for the draft play behind. So they got steamrolled in the SEC some weeks. And, hey, he wasn't going to just go down and protect his stats. Yeah, he made some throws and some plays that, were turnovers or things you don't like to see, but he was trying to win the game. He wasn't just going to take a sack and go, oh, I didn't throw an incompletion or my numbers are still good. There was a lot of issues with that Auburn football team. And, again, this is one of my pet peeves. We got to stop blaming the quarterback for team issues.
Last year on the field, Jarrett Stidham threw all of 4 passes. 2 were to his team. 1 was to the other team. Did throw an
for a
interception.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's the depth chart. You got Stidham. You got Brian Hoyer. You got Brian Lewerke. So a couple Michigan State guys behind Stidham there. Rob Ninkovich is doing the media tour, former Patriot. And this is when I searched for Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham. Man, Rob Ninkovich came up in basically every story. There's not a whole lot going on out there. We're just basically writing stories about what he said. But he thinks Hoyer's going to be the starter. And I think he's probably not alone in people thinking like, okay, they're not going to hand the reins over to Jarrett Stidham. Hoyer knows the system. Belichick's going to feel more comfortable with him. Josh McDaniels. Do you see that as at least a sliver of possibility?
I don't think there's any way. They didn't know they were going to get Brian Hoyer in free agency. They weren't sold on that. This was the plan. They knew this. Jarrett Stidham had already proved to them enough that he was capable of taking over the reins for Tom Brady. So this was the plan all along. And, that's Rob Ninkovich, I got a ton of respect for him and everything. But to me, that's just the easy way out or the easy thought. No one can wrap their head around that this was actually plan A for the New England Patriots going into the 2020 season. And, to throw that on there too, first off, Stidham, we know what Brian Hoyer is. Stidham's more talented in every facet, okay? Yes, Brian Hoyer's not making my top 40 quarterbacks. He's not. I know what Brian Hoyer is, and he's not one of the top 40 in football. Jarrett Stidham, talent-wise, is another guy that I'd say has top 20 talent. We just got to see him play and do it on the football field first. So, I don't agree with that. And also to this, I'll throw this point at you. New England didn't win one game last year because of Tom Brady. There's not one game you can go back and look at and go, man, if they didn't have Tom Brady, they wouldn't have won that game. No, that they won games last year because Brady was smart and took care of the ball. I'm not trying to discredit that, but they played a different style of football. They played through their defense. We knew that. The offense was struggling. They're going to play through their defense again this year, So they're not going to be asking Jarrett Stidham to be like Tom Brady of 2015 that drops back 45 times a game and throws the ball all over the place. They're going to run the ball. They're going to make sure he's comfortable with the game plan and the things he does well, and they're going to play through that defense too. So this is their guy. They're going to go with it. And if that fails, we have old reliable behind him and Brian Hoyer, and then you bring him in. You don't bring Brian Hoyer in to be the starter. And then the Patriots start out 4 or 5-0, and they've won a bunch of games 17-14 through their defense, and it's been ugly. And you're going, damn, they're winning, but, really how high is the ceiling with a quarterback that's not big time? Is he going to help them get over the edge against better teams in football or playoff times? No. So to me, you start Stidham all the way, and I think that's their plan all the way. Tyrod Taylor. Yes, I know. I had to sit there and look. I got so many quarterbacks and names and numbers. But Tyrod Taylor, Los Angeles Chargers. I love Tyrod Taylor in a lot of ways. I disrespected him last year and made him the 40th best quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, another guy that's got he's got his experience, has big-time talent. I wish he'd let it just hang out a little bit more. My big issue with Tyrod Taylor is he's too conservative. He leaves too many plays and yards on the field when he's the starting quarterback. That's why they got him out of Buffalo. That's why when he hurt his wrist in Cleveland, Baker Mayfield came in there and right away we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because there's a lack of an aggressive mindset with Tyrod Taylor. And if he just was more aggressive that way, he'd be a starting quarterback for somebody already, and he wouldn't have to worry about that team drafting anybody or anything like that. But huge arm, Ahmed. Huge arm.
Yeah.
I mean, can launch it 60 yards off his back foot, can do anything that way, can scramble and go get 30 yards on a run, can scramble around behind the line of scrimmage and make plays that way. But it is ultimately the conservative nature, his inability at times to see down the middle of the field, or his reluctance to throw the ball down the middle of the field is what has relegated him into this position already. So I really like Tyrod Taylor. I think he could take the Los Angeles Chargers to the playoffs, but is that going to be enough? If it's a 9-7, 10-6 year, we got to the playoffs and lost to the wild card game, but the offense was kind of and the defense carried us, kind of like what happened in Buffalo, they're going to move to Justin Herbert. There's no doubt, if not sooner.
Yeah.
But if he comes out and kind of lights the world on fire and puts up big numbers and is aggressive and things like that, whether it's with the Chargers or somebody else is going to give him a chance to be a starter and be that guy. So to me, that's what's keeping him at 34. Again, another guy I'd look at and go, there's a lot of talent there for him to be justified as a higher ranking than this.
We're up to 33 in the Chris Simms Top 40 Countdown with some consultation with his father. 33, who you got, Chris?
Jameis Winston, backup quarterback, New Orleans Saints. And again, just so we know, my criteria, I'm a head coach. I'm on the hot seat. I prioritize what quarterbacks I want and want to rank them and trust them to be the quarterback of my football team. And, hey, Jameis Winston, I love his talent. You know that. I mean, when he's on his game, it's as good as anybody in football. It's top 10 talent in the league. It's, wow, what a throw. Whoa, what a play. All of that. But if I'm a head coach, too, I'm also going, man, do I really, when my butt's on the hot seat and I could be fired, do I really want to go with Jameis Winston into that year? No, he's not in the trust tree or the circle of trust in that way. So, he's just too careless with the football, as you know. Do I think a guy like Sean Payton might be able to turn him around and change his aspect or how he looks at the game? Certainly. But Jameis Winston has big-time talent. I think my father would agree. I mean, his good is as good as anybody in the game. The problem is his bad is worse than the top 40 quarterbacks in football. When it's his bad and he's playing that way, you go, damn, is he somewhere between 40 and 50? And that's not going to make any head coach feel warm and cozy about it. So, again, I really like the player. I think he's going to go in the right direction now that he's underneath underneath Sean Payton and that tutelage there. And that ultimately is why I have him at 33.
Yeah, really good job. The one guy jumps out, but I just think about backups that you can trust. Of course, Andy Dalton. Where do you have him ranked?
I can't tell you yet, but he's coming up.
Okay,
he's going to be in front of Jameis Winston. Thanks for ruining the surprise at some point. But yeah,
well, kind of.
Yeah.
I didn't make the list. I don't have it sitting in front of me, so sorry, son. Whatever. I don't get it. But listen. Here's why I have no argument with that at all. His talent, and for all the fans out there, if you want to argue it, come argue with me, because man, I got a lot of ammo. And the one thing is, when's the last time you saw a quarterback come in and play for Sean Payton have a bad stretch of games or not play well? Keep thinking. Yeah, that's it. The answer is nobody. And he did it last year. Teddy Bridgewater, the 5 games he played, man, it was the basics of basics for the first couple weeks. Then when he got his legs under him, they trusted him more. They won some close games. My gosh, did they? Whatever. Then they let it open up against teams they know they could take advantage of, and then he put up the good numbers, and then Teddy Bridgewater said, thank you, Sean, and now he's up there getting paid by the Carolina Panthers. So to think Jameis Winston will not make some of the same changes in his game, his thinking, and being taught, it's going to happen.
Number 32, Case Keenum. The Cleveland Browns, Case Keenum. I got to get used to saying that. But, yes, Case Keenum, again, he's one of those guys that, just gets crapped on. Too much, in my opinion. He's underrated. I know he doesn't, have the Hollywood, movie star good looks, and he's not an Adonis when he walks into the room. He's not your prototypical, franchise type quarterback. So people are always looking to replace him or move on or do anything like that. His talent, it's good. It doesn't jump off the screen always to where you go, oh my gosh, wow, this guy's unbelievable. Look at him run or throw lasers all over the field. No, he's not that. But as you see in my rankings, I think he's a low-level starter or one of the best backups in football. Listen, I've seen the guy in person. One, TV doesn't do justice to his arm. The ball pops out of his arm. He's got better accuracy than people realize. Two, he's a good athlete. And again, not that he's like Lamar Jackson or anything like that, but he can move around the pocket. You think about 2 years ago or 3 years ago now when he was with the Minnesota Vikings and some of the plays he made to bring them to the NFC Championship game. So, there's a lot of consistency, and you know what you're going to get with Case Keenum. No, are you going to get superstar game-changing plays? No, you're not. But I could tell you that when a guy's open, he's going to hit it. When there's he's going to know how to read a defense and go through his progressions. And he's going to make a play every now and then. It's not going to be like superstar plays like we talked about, but he is capable of dancing around the pocket and throwing a post down the middle or whatever it may be. So I do like Case Keenum a lot. There are some guys that are behind him that have more talent than him, but I think he's got more talent than people realize, along with some really good game experience to go along with that, which is the reason I have him in front of guys like Dwayne Haskins and things like that, who I recognize have a higher ceiling, but can't play the position of quarterback as good as he can quite yet.
Yeah, and maybe won't, too, because there's still some projection with some of the rookie and first and second-year quarterbacks out there. So last year with Dwayne Haskins in Washington, Case was the starter for 8 games. He just won one of those games, but actually played pretty well. His quarterback rating was 91, not the end-all be-all of quarterback stats, but that 91 quarterback ranking was just behind Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz, and it was ahead of guys like Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Jared Goff. And you mentioned that 2017 season, his best with Kevin Stefanski over there in Cleveland. Big reason why Case is over there now. They gave him 3 years, $18 million, $10 million of that guaranteed. That's not insignificant. I mean, Baker Mayfield has talked about what a value Case could be in helping him learn this offense. It's not going to be exactly like it was with Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota, but I mean, there's a little pressure there because Case Keenum could do some things with those weapons they got in Cleveland. What do you think of that?
I do. I think that's why he's there a little bit. A little bit to just put the pressure on Baker Mayfield. It's not going to just be the red carpet and you could throw 20 interceptions and you'll still be our guy and all that. No. Case Keenum, first off, he's really a poor man's Baker Mayfield. That's how I kind of look at him. A little bit of an undersized quarterback who's a good athlete and got a good arm. Baker Mayfield's just a better athlete with a better arm, but if you're Baker Mayfield, you better be on your P's and Q's with a guy like Case Keenum behind you, because if you go through a stretch of 3 or 4 games and you only go 1-4 and you've thrown a bunch of interceptions, Keenum's played well enough and he has a history with Kevin Stefanski that Stefanski's going to go, okay, I'm into winning football games. I don't trust Baker Mayfield. Here comes Case Keenum. And, too, Case Keenum, let's not forget, all right, like the man that commented on my Dwayne Haskins rankings, not a lot of offensive talent around him last year in Washington. Even the year before that in Denver, it wasn't very good either. So, you need a little support and help to look good as a quarterback, and I think that's lacked a little bit there too. But without a doubt, one of the best backup quarterbacks in football, let alone you could argue that, yes, he could be a low-end starting quarterback in football. And he's a guy that I trust. I do. You give him a little support, he can win you football games. He's not going to lose you many football games. He's not going to do that. And, unlike Tyrod Taylor, he's got a little bit more of a aggressive nature when it comes to throwing the football. And not that he's going to carry teams, but he's not afraid to make a few plays to help your team win the game. And if that means, damn, I threw an interception, okay, so be it. But he does go down swinging, which I give him respect for.
Played college ball at Houston. I looked it up over on Pro Football Reference. They say there have been 7 quarterbacks to play in the NFL from Houston. How many can you name, Chris?
Wow. So Andre Ware.
Yep.
Of course, Case Keenum.
Yep.
Oh man, the guy that played for the Eagles a few years, Kevin Cobb.
Yeah.
Okay, right. David Klingler.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm missing somebody else that I should know here, and I had it in my head, and now I forgot.
There's one,
right,
one current, and then the 2 others. So the one current.
Yeah, who is the current I'm missing? I know I'm missing a current.
He's in the league now. Switch teams. He did just switch teams.
All right, who is it? I don't want to delay forever.
Kyle Allen.
Oh my gosh. I totally forgot. I knew there was somebody in there, and I just couldn't quite place it. All right, and name me some of the other guys that I missed on the list. What I missed?
Back in the day, there was
3?
one in '97, 6th-round pick by the Jets, Chuck Clements out of Houston.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember him at all. And
I
then
do,
the other,
vaguely.
you got to go back to the '50s with the Giants, Bob Clatterbuck, which I kind of thought you probably would have gotten because you are a historian of the NFL, but you missed on that one.
Good
So
old
Case
Bob
Keenum.
Clatterbuck. How can you forget him?
Case Keenum, 32. I knew he was going to be high up on your list. Although he was, what was he on your list last year? 28th on the list last year. So he has dropped down just a little bit, Case Keenum.
Yeah, well, hey, there was an infusion of talent in the NFL this past year. And some guys that were behind him certainly played well and jumped up. So, hey, listen, the one thing I know after doing this exercise, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in football, like a lot of them. And I do look at it, and we're seeing, 8 quarterbacks over the last 2 drafts that are going to be starting in the NFL. To me, that's where it's going to get interesting. You talk about these quarterback contracts and big money and things like that. We've seen the Eagles, the Chiefs, Blake Bortles and the Jaguars. Who else am I missing? I'm missing, and Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks twice. Those are all guys that were on their rookie contracts that went deep into the playoffs or went to the Super Bowl. So again, I don't know why we're paying some of these middle-of-the-road quarterbacks $34 or $33 million a year. That, to me, doesn't make sense, and I think this is part of the reason why it could get corrected sometime in the near future.